My name is Will. I am sometimes known as Baldly Go, and you may recognise me from the Arctic. I recently did the Beyond the Ultimate Ice Ultra, which is where I got this rather stylish t-shirt from. I've put together my top 10 tips for surviving out in the Arctic. Okay, tip 8 is feet. Now I know strictly speaking feet isn't a tip, it's not even an instruction, it's just a word, but think about your feet, okay? Your feet, you're going to owe them by the end of this, okay? Those little things are going to carry you 230 kilometers through the Arctic. It's worth looking after them. How upsetting would it be for a blister to put you out of the race, okay? And that could happen. Now, I am not an expert on foot taping or anything like that. You are going to have to look elsewhere for tips on that. And we are planning on bringing somebody else in front of the camera who'll be able to talk you through that in a much better way than I can. The only foot taping I did was when I realised before the race that my snowshoes robbed my ankles, right across the back of the ankle. Consequently, I ran with blister plasters and bright blue KT tape around my ankles every day. Okay, at the start of every stage, I put that on, preempting blisters that never actually happened at the end. I brought the minimum requirement for blister plasters in my pack and then doubled up on it because I was so determined not to have foot problems. In terms of the socks that I actually wore out there, okay, again, you're going to have to try out some different options and see what works for you, but this is what worked for me. There were only a couple of times during the entire race where my feet felt cold, okay? And over 230 kilometers in the Arctic, that's pretty miraculous, so I was chuffed with this. I started with, okay, I know the Injinjis are a bit freaky with the weird toe glove kind of thing going on, but I trained with Injinjis all the way in the year up to the race, and I never had a blister problem, so it was an obvious choice for me. Also, I loved the palm tree motif on this particular trail weight model. Okay, so those were the socks that I had on. Over the top of them, I had these thick trek weight sealskins, which are warm and waterproof. They're merino lined and waterproof. Some people don't like them because they're quite stiff. Also, if you get water in them, they're a nightmare. Luckily I didn't, and yeah, okay, they can be quite stiff. They're sort of rubberized. They're not the most comfortable things if you were just wearing them. But with the Trailway and Injinjis underneath, they actually worked really well. I never had a problem with my feet getting wet, so that was ideal. My shoes were Innovate Rock-Lite 280, okay? They're lightweight, and I had trained with something very, very similar back in the UK before I picked the shoe I was going to take out to the ice with me. So I knew they worked for me. They're the standard fit, they're quite a wide toe box, and that's important for me. So I have feet like a mole. I spent about £3 on the insoles, the thermal insoles. They're fluffy and they have silver foil on the underside of them, and they stick to the inside of your shoe. They were seriously like £3 off Amazon, and they made loads of difference, okay? They were really, really good. I didn't go for a waterproof shoe. A lot of people did, okay? I figured my sealskins would be enough, and they turned out to be. That doesn't mean I made the best choice. But it worked for me. What I did do is get a hydrophobic spray and spray it on these before I went out to the ice. I'd say that was really useful for all of about 10 minutes. Yeah. Try a lot of options, okay? But look after your feet. Okay, tip 9, think about your night bag, okay? I know the night bag seems like an afterthought. I know you've got a lot to think about already, okay? There is enough kit to think about here. But the night bag's going to be really important to you when it gets handed back to you at the end of a long day. Now, a lot of people had quite big, heavy dry bags and old backpacks and stuff and gym bags and stuff that they used for their night kit. They're actually quite heavy already. What I took was just this cheap, flimsy 70-litre dry bag, okay? It weighs so little that when I put it on my luggage scales, nothing happened. What that meant is you've got loads of weight to play around with for your kit. which is going to be important because you're going to need a big sleeping bag, and please don't skimp on the sleeping bag. Honestly, we had one night get down to -22 and the upper limit for my bag was -23, and I was wearing all my clothes. But when you're so tired and so calorie deprived, it's harder to keep warm, and that bag was just enough, okay? So don't skimp on it. I know it's expensive, I know it's going to hurt, but it is worth having that thing. Now with that extra weight, I was able to pack a couple of luxuries as well. So on top of all my warm clothes, I had a big down layer to put on, some old battered ski trousers that I got from TK Maxx years ago. I also had, oh, and I loved these. These are heat holder socks. They cost like 6 or 7 quid, something like that. And they are big, thick, woolly socks, and they are lined with fleece. They're absolutely lovely. So I had them to keep my feet warm in the evening. And then my favourite, these are the Nordisk down slippers, and they're just great. I mean, they have no grip, and there's not much of a sole on them, and that was a bit of a pain moving around in the snow between huts or between tents, but not enough to make them not worthwhile. They're just big, so your feet aren't restricted in them when they've been battered at the end of a long day, and they're so warm, okay? So save on the bag, leave enough room for some niceties for the evening. You are going to thank yourself for it. Okay, my final tip is going to sound really, really stupidly obvious, okay? Tip 10 is train. Obviously, train. I'm sure you are, and I'm sure this is deeply, deeply patronising, okay? But these are my tips. I get to say what I like. One thing that you'll hear a lot in the run-up to something like this is that 90% of it is in your head, okay? What you really need for something like this is the psychological ability to be able to push through when conditions are just that tough, when you're just that fatigued, okay? Anyone who tells you that is absolutely right, okay? You are going to need to be tough, and there are going to be times when you've really got to dig deep, okay? But that's only half the story in an environment as inhospitable as the Arctic. You'll be doing yourself a really big favour if you've trained to a point where you can really limit the amount of time that you are out there on the ice each day and maximise the amount of time you have in the warm recuperating, okay? The shorter time you are out there on the ice, the less chance you've got of burning out all of your calories and ending up in a hypothermic state. The less chance you've got of being out there in the dark, burning out all your head torch batteries. The less chance you've got of being out there at the coldest part of the day once the sun's gone down, okay? You don't have to do that. If you've trained enough, then hopefully you can get back each day in daylight, have enough time for a meal, maybe a snooze, maybe do some stretching, have enough time to properly dry your clothes, get your bed set up, not have to be in a rush, have another meal before bedtime, okay? Give yourself that luxury. Train. And if there's one thing that I did in training that really, really worked for me, it's the long time on feet sessions, okay? If you're an elite, maybe you're going to be able to run a lot of this race, but otherwise there's a good chance you're going to spend 80 or 90% of it marching with your snowshoes on, sometimes on soft snow, okay? You are not going to need to be able to run fast in order to complete this. What you're going to need to be able to do is move for a long time, consistently. So you go out there on a Saturday and you find yourself some rugged, rocky, mushy, muddy, horrible terrain, and you march on it in all of your kit for 8 hours or 10 hours, and you eat the kind of snacks you're going to eat during the race, and at the end of that day you eat the food you'd be eating during the race, and then you bed down for the night, whether you're camping, not for me, okay, or I used youth hostels and stuff, then get up the next day and march yourself home, okay? That is really going to pay off. That's what worked for me, is just being able to go out and get a good pace and stick at it for 8 hours at a time. Get your body ready for that, because you are not going to be sprinting through the ice ultra. Okay, so those were my top 10 tips. I hope that helps, okay? I hope that gives you a starting point to go out and figure out what's going to get you through the Arctic. And I can't press that enough, okay? The kit I've shown you, the food that I've talked about, even the training tips I've given you, they are what worked for me, okay? That's what got me through the Arctic. This is now the time for you to go out and do your own research and your own trial and error and trying all of your kit and freezing all of your food and cutting your toothbrushes in half and figuring out what works, and embrace this, okay? This period of training is all part of the adventure. You're going to learn so much over the course of this time, okay? Embrace that and enjoy it, and at the end of it, you get to go to the Arctic and spend 5 days out there on the Ice Ultra course. And trust me, you will never forget that place for as long as you live. Have an amazing time. Thank you.